Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. It is a really exciting episode today. And full disclosure, we have pre-recorded this one because Jen Ellis, who is not just kind of our guest on our episode today, but we're actually doing a cooking episode today. And she is on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, and managing to do at 11:30 in the morning East Coast time a cooking episode was just never going to happen. So I am excited to introduce to you one of our current clients, Jennifer Ellis. Jen, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Now, I am excited about this because Jen has proven over the last year to be one of our most influential clients because of all of her knowledge around food and cooking and baking. And so we're going to get into that. But before we do, you have to hear a little bit about Jen, how she found us, what her story is, because it's a good one, super inspirational. So Jen, tell us a little bit about kind of how you came to us and what your story was when you did.
Yeah, so I came to you a little over a year ago, and I found Carrie through Facebook. Just one of those, have a free call, and are you tired of dieting? And I have tried every diet on the planet, from back in the day before it was keto, it was Atkins, to the fasting diets, to you name it, Weight Watchers, the whole gamut. And I've yo-yoed forever. And I was lost. And in a big way, I'm a cook to top everything off. A trained baker, and worked as a pastry chef for a long time. So I love that. My happy place is my kitchen. And my biggest concern, I had two things. One, that I couldn't cook and bake the way that I love to do. And I would lose that piece of my life that's such a large part of it. And the other part was that I couldn't do this forever, that it wasn't sustainable. That was probably the largest piece for me. You can do anything for a short period of time, but being able to do something for a long period of time is very.
And when we first met you, Jen, that was like your biggest thing, was like, I just don't want to keep the yo-yo thing going on. But you were also concerned because you were a baker and you love to cook, and how restrictive would this be? And I wanted to bring you on this month because this is the month that we are opening up our recipe subscription, and we only open it twice a year. And Jen loves our recipe subscription, but I had to really kind of convince you that you were going to be able to still cook and bake and live the life that you love and still get healthy, reach your goals. I mean, I remember when you first started working with us, you put a funny post in the membership group that your underwear were falling off.
Yes.
So not only were you—
That was the craziest thing.
Yeah, you were eating, you were baking, you were cooking, and your underwear was still falling off.
Exactly. It's the best thing. It's the best of all worlds. You can live your life and enjoy what you do and still make the progress you want.
So what made you, though, because of your history of dieting, and because of your love of cooking and baking, what made you decide to say yes to us? Because at the end of the day, you had to have a lot of faith and trust in some ways that this really was what we said it was, because you weren't living it. We just had to talk about it. So what was it that kind of made you feel like, yeah, I have to do this?
Two things. One, talking to you and your passion and influence through the whole process. The fact that there were things built in that would allow me, things like the recipe vault. The recipes were good and doable. Where so many diet plans, you look at a recipe and I can't eat all of these things. I can't make, for example, the bread I'm making today. I wouldn't have been able to do that on most diets I've done. And knowing that I can do that, it's livable, was kind of the key for me. Once you explained to me that I wasn't going to have to swear off carbs forever, or fats, never have another, all these things that you take out of traditional diets, that I could still eat them. I just had to learn how.
Yeah.
A game changer for me.
It's kind of amazing of how many diets you did, how much knowledge you have about cooking and baking, and yet it was almost like everything was in conflicting. Like if you wanted to be healthy and lose weight, excuse me, you couldn't do those things. And that just like, it was you always kind of battling this back and forth between what you wanted and what you loved. And now you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, no, this has been ideal. And the Recipe Vault is, well, as you know, one of my favorite places.
Sorry, I just had to put it on mute because I still have this little cough and I'm trying to get through it. Anyway, yes. So I love this. And so today we're going to actually dig in. I want to hear a little bit more about your story and a few things that you did differently than what a lot of other people have been doing. But also, we're going to be cooking today a little bit. So just as a little teaser, what are you going to be showing people today?
I am going to be showing people my oat bread. So it's an oatmeal bread. It's a perfect carb. It has a very little bit of fat, but mostly carb. And I use it on a lot of things. It's
my gosh.
And go to add a little bit to it. And it makes everything easy.
And it is so easy. This recipe is so easy. And yes, we eat bread. And having this bread, your oat bread, the way, I mean, Jen is just unbelievable with flours and figuring out how to make things even gluten-free for people that want it to be gluten-free, and you would never know it. And when I made this oat bread, my whole family was like, oh my gosh, this bread is so good. And we were just like, it was an amazing carb for us, along with our protein and our fats. So Jen is going to be showing us how to do that. And it is in the Recipe Vault from this past 2022. But as I remember talking to you when you first came on board. And as with all of our clients, I want to know everybody's story. I want to know what's going on with them. I want to know why they are doing this, so that when life gets a little chaotic and a little hard, we can bring you back in if we need to, or check in with you. And for you, Jen, life got a little chaotic in the middle of last year. Tell people what happened.
So I was working remotely, and my position disappeared. And right the end of month 1, going into month 2 of the trifecta. And it threw everything into chaos for me. Just everything went upside down. So in this process, starting with you, we bought a house.
Yep.
And then I lost my job.
Yep.
And that turns everything upside down.
And yet, and I always say, when people do, and when you say the trifecta, that's kind of our approach, this trifecta of mind, body, sustainability, and learning really not just how to eat, which is what you really wanted to learn, but you learned that. And that's in some ways the easy part. But now it's about, how do you continue to live a lifestyle despite what life throws at you? And it was so crazy that Jen's life got turned upside down really about a month in, and we were able to work with her to be like, okay, how do we still stay with it? And Jen didn't have another job. Like, she was trying to soul search and figure it out. But then eventually you did get a job, but it wasn't working from home. And now you commute and you have this whole other life, but you can still live this lifestyle. So talk about that transition and how you still made it work.
So working at home is really easy, right? Because, I step away from my computer, I walk in the kitchen, I grab a meal. I can even eat it at my desk if I need to, or whatever the case may be. I commute 45 minutes one way. I work in Sequoia National Park.
Which is amazing.
Which is incredible. If anyone ever has a chance, please come up and see us. You will never see a tree like a sequoia anywhere. So 45 minutes one way to work. And I realized, okay, well, I have a meal at home, but that's 3 meals at least that I'm going to have while I'm at work. So what I realized is, by rearranging things just a little, I don't have my shake first thing in the morning, because I can have that at work and it's easy. Make it.
Shake is really about something easy when you need something fast and on the go. Because we eat 5 to 6 times a day, and now you're working outside of the house.
Exactly. So I have that. I take it with me, and my team knows now, because I have a little bag that comes with me every day to work, and it's full of what I'm going to eat that day. As well as I keep supplements at my desk. So I have things like my HL5 is right there.
Yep.
And Restore is right there. I even have my little bottle of Extreme with me. And I found that by keeping that at work, I don't have to remember to add it every day to my.
This is part of what we teach is around systems to be able to know, okay, my life is like this. Now, where's my system? And constantly just being aware and intentional about what you're doing. But then, Jen, this is what I love about your story. So then you get going and you're at your new job and it's all going well. And then for a little while, we didn't hear from you in our membership.
Yeah,
Jen went a little ghost. Then I'm going to talk about the recipes and why it's so crazy, but like and amazing. But there's a little while where we didn't see Jen very often.
Mhm.
But always the way that we operate is that like your coach is sort of like even months and months later, right? But this is why we want people in lifetime with us. Like, hey, Jen, what's going on? Everything okay? And you got yourself kind of re-engaged. You had kind of stepped back a little for a few different reasons, but then you got yourself right back in. And that's what I think is so different, giving yourself the grace, the love, and knowing exactly what to do if you do end up veering off.
Well, being lifetime member meant that I didn't necessarily have to admit that I had kind of fallen off a little. I could come back in slowly, open back up. I redid the 4 weeks on my own because I had access to them. I was able to pull up recipes and jump right back in where I had been before, as well as I can go in through my porthole and do all of that from the beginning. And that made all the difference because you don't feel as disgruntled. You don't feel as much as it's not a failure. It's just
yes. And what always happens with everybody in any other quote unquote diet or approach is that you go look for another one.
Oh yeah.
I fell off and I go and you didn't, you came right back on, you're right back in it. And now you're there again. So let's go back to Jen, the baker, the cook, all of that. And that was one of your concerns. And I said to her, I'm like, Jen, remember, no food is off limits. All food is protein, fats, and carbs. You just need to learn more about food. And you were like, I really want to be baking. And in the first 4 weeks, we're pulling away from gluten to just get our bodies kind of less inflammatory. We're pulling away from some dairy because we want to get our bodies less inflammatory, but we can enter it all right back in after 4 weeks with intentionality. And so when you and I talked, you were like, great, because, I am not giving up the things that I love to do and to bake. What you did, and we didn't even talk about this initially, but it was like you felt so good and so empowered that you were like, I want to find a way to actually do so many of these recipes that I love that I know haven't really necessarily been serving my body and make them taste just as good and have them serve my body. And that's what Jen has been doing. So a lot of you wouldn't know this, but the way that I teach our clients is what I call the gradual release of responsibility. It's an educator term. If anybody's an educator and they know what I'm saying, type in GRR, gradual release of responsibility. You go from me as the expert, the teacher as the expert, to the student as the expert. And we slowly release that responsibility throughout our initial education. And Jen really took that. And the way that I know that somebody really truly has become more of the expert is that they can apply previously learned information to novel situations. And that is where our recipe contest comes in. So our members are able to submit recipes to our recipe contest. They have to be blood sugar balanced, which means they are PFC, protein, fat, and carb balanced. Or if they don't have all the components of it, it's explained how to make it balanced. That's why our recipe subscription is so unique and different. You never have to wonder, you never have to tweak or worry. You're going to be getting those healthy and blood sugar stabilizing balanced recipes. And yes, bread, lasagna, tacos. One of the things that Jen did, and I make this all the time, is she made an incredibly easy and so yummy corn tortilla. I've never made a corn tortilla, and I lived in Mexico. And Jen figured out a recipe for a clean corn tortilla, and it is absolutely incredible.
Well, the key to that one is I don't use corn.
You don't use what?
I don't use corn.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, actually, yeah. So it's not really corn tortilla. It's a tortilla, I should say.
but I use it for that. I use for everything, wraps, everything.
Yes.
Easy and fast. And I like it. I'm finding I like that recipe much more than, and I was a flour tortilla girl. Like a good homemade flour tortilla I was all over that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, this is a total alternative to the flour, to the corn, and it is clean and absolutely incredible. My kids love it and so simple. But this is the thing. Jen sits there and now is completely obsessed, like she was with baking. All of her baked goods and all of that is now like, how can I make this like clean and balanced and just as tasty? So she spends hours in the kitchen just playing with different flours and playing with different combinations, and then submits it to the recipe contest. And when they submit to the recipe contest, they get points. And Jen has earned so many points. She's earned so many prizes. But
I love it.
I love it because it really just shows how much you know about this lifestyle and how much you've learned.
It makes such a difference. And now it's fun. Now it's kind of a game for me, right? I'll look at a recipe and the first thing I do is think, okay, well, that's good. And what can I put in place of that? And I'll play with it until I get it to where it works and it's not too odd.
Yeah.
One of the things I was afraid of is, especially and that's why this bread is so exciting, is a lot of breads are either, if they're gluten-free and dairy-free, they end up being spongy or a rock, or needless to say, you don't want to eat it.
Right. Right.
And, so
and a lot of times they have a lot of garbage in it, even though
there's a lot of junk. Right. And so I wanted something that was clean, but that still gave me that, I'm still getting that piece of toast for my avocado toast that I enjoy without feeling like I have all this extra junk.
Yep.
And it was I find it really fun. And
so
really,
let's talk about this, because this is just one of many of Jen's recipes that are in our recipe vault. I mean, we have, when you think about our recipe vault, which is also in an app, more than 500 recipes in the vault. And gosh, there are, every single month we have more and more recipes every month. In fact, Jen, before you actually talk about the oat, let's just share really quick what the January recipes look like, because they're so beautiful too.
They are.
Like, you can see this, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's just aesthetically so beautiful. Let's just look at it this way. Okay. I mean, these are our January recipes, and you have 4 weeks of recipes and bonus recipes, grocery lists, and pantry items, and then just so quick and easy. When you look, Italian turkey meatballs, these are things that everybody in your family will want and will love, and lemon pasta with peas.
Carrie, I'm going to run really fast and get the bread out of the oven.
Go get the bread. Oh my gosh, skillet sausage and cherry tomatoes with broccolini. Coach Michelle S. made that one. It's just absolutely incredible. Tuscan chicken. So I just want everybody to be able to see how beautiful these are. And so what Jen really was able to do was to say, I'm going to take all of my expertise and be able to really show what I've learned. And in this past year, Jen has learned so much about food. I don't think you ever would have like even written the narrative that you would be able to cook in this way and be able to like marry the things, right? All the things that you want to do for your body and still be able to cook and bake and all of that was something that you just thought wasn't possible if you wanted to, you know, lose weight and get healthy.
Would have done it.
So right now, Jen has actually baked her oat bread. Oh my gosh, look how good that looks. I love your pan too. So Jen just took it out of the pan. Jen, unbelievable. This is gluten-free, dairy-free. Oh my gosh, it is so amazing. So why don't we share how you did that?
Sure. Easy peasy. So I start with oat flour, and it's up to you what kind of oat flour you like. I have one that I've been using for a long time. So I use, this is It's Anthony's. It's an organic whole grain oat flour. I would suggest just a nice finely ground oat flour. I like it to be organic, but that's just me. So it's kind of whatever you like. I made them this year. So,
and how is oat flour different than what, a regular white flour that, how does it present differently?
Okay. So a regular white flour, has gluten. Oat flour normally doesn't. Mm-hmm. Oats, and I still buy one that specifically says gluten-free, but most oats are gluten-free. Yeah. It's just something that oats are good at. The other thing about white flour, so it does have a little fiber in it because of that.
Yeah, which is great.
Exactly. It is not processed. White flour and regular baking flour is heavily processed because they take basically all the good stuff out and then they bleach it. So there's not a lot of good as far as health contents or mineral or fiber left in regular flour. This flour definitely has fiber, and you'll see when you see here, see it well, but you can see the color of this. It's not white. It's very, it looks like oats. It's very tan in color, and it's not real grainy. I specifically like the fine variety because of that. It works more like a regular flour because it's fine. It doesn't get, without building gluten, you don't necessarily get that, the same consistency.
Okay, yeah.
How sort of we work around that. So this recipe is super easy. Start with flour. So I use 2 cups and 3/4 of a finely ground oat flour. Mm-hmm. The other thing I will say about oat flour is if you don't have oat flour, take oatmeal and put it in a food processor or a blender and blend it. And voila, you have flour.
Oh my gosh, that is genius. Okay.
So I have done that many times, been like, oh, there's not enough in this bag. And you just make your own.
Okay.
So measure it after it's ground though. That's the key there. So the next thing we're going to add is I have 1 cup and it is unsweetened almond milk. And this one I realized earlier today is my normal that I use for smoothies. So it's vanilla flavor. It's different, but that just happens to be what I had. And then you take 2 eggs and you mix that together. And I just
so you're putting the egg in the almond milk.
I am.
Very interesting. Okay.
So that helps when you're combining it later that you're mixing that together. Okay. So I just up a little bit and it just helps mix everything together a little bit easier in the end. So next I'm going to take my honey, and this is 2 tablespoons of honey, and I like local honey, so I get mine at farmer's market from a local guy, which is whatever honey you have. This is 2 tablespoons of honey.
I love how Jen has her 1% better every day shirt on.
I do.
Woohoo! Right there from our shop.
Words to live by. Mm-hmm. So the next one is ground flaxseed. And you can, again, do this 2 different ways. You can buy this ground.
Like I do.
I grind my own.
I do not.
And I grind it. It's up to you how you want to do it. I just happen to find them whole. So this is going to be a 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed. And then in this guy, because we don't need a lot of everything, so I mix everything into one. So this is going to be 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So you have both, which is going to help give you some rise. As you saw in that loaf before, it wasn't a flat brick. And it's
and there's no yeast in here.
There's no yeast in here at all. And the other thing is a 1/4 teaspoon salt. And I tell people use whatever salt you have. I'm using kosher because that's what I have, and my sea salt is too fine. It ends up too salty. So I just sprinkle that in top.
So now the dry is all together.
The dry is all together with the honey, which makes it a little different.
Oh yeah, the honey's in there, yep.
And then I take my wet mixture, which is the egg and the almond milk. You mix that in there.
It's so nice to watch you doing it. I just follow the directions in the recipe vault. And now watching you do it, it's like I got my own little cooking lesson right now.
This is just so
Cooking with Jen.
super easy. And I'm mixing it with a spatula. Sometimes I mix it with a whisk. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling. I'm excited that my arm's allowing me to do this today, so that's always good.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jen had a surgery.
I will tell you, if you don't stretch. Because I never was a stretcher, and I ended up tearing the tendons that connect your hand to your elbow.
Oh
Not planned. You wake up one morning and you can no longer use your fingers. So
Jen, let's see the bowl. Can we see it all mixed up?
Yeah.
For all of you watching. Yeah, look at that, you guys. I mean, that's amazing.
So now here's the key to this bread and what makes this a loaf is this is going to sit for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that takes a little patience. You got to wait.
It does. You have to be
Scroll
patient.
social media for 5 minutes and then come back.
And just hang out for a minute. So what I do in this time is I am definitely a trained cook, because you'll notice the first thing I do is clean as I go.
I love it.
I just can't help myself.
I got to teach my teenagers that.
You know, I did not always do this, but I'm telling you, it's a game changer.
Jen, as you're cleaning, I'm going to share this for a second, the screen. So this comes right from our recipe vault. Look at that picture of that bread. And these are all of our side dishes. Oh my gosh, there's so many. The recipe's here. The download is here. And so, I mean, gosh, Jen, I love it. And Jen has got so many of these amazing recipes in here.
Thank you. So this little guy, I don't know if you guys have ever been familiar with this.
I have one of those.
I love this because the oil I want in it. So this is avocado oil. Avocado oil is great for high heat, which is wonderful. Not that this is high heat. We cook this at 350. It's pretty easy. But I just pump this guy a couple times. And now I don't have to worry about what's in my spray.
Yeah, so that spray, for those of you listening and not watching, it's one of those where you add your own oil to a spray and then spray the pan, and then you don't have any those spray oils. I mean, some of them are okay, but this is where you are 100% sure that it is just your oil and nothing else.
Now I know what's in there.
Yep.
So we have a couple more minutes before this thing is ready to go in there, and then we're good. So let me see if I can cut this.
So the thing is, when you're spraying that, I've made this a few times and I didn't wait. I just put it in the pan and then put it in the oven.
Oh yeah, you can't be, yeah.
You need those few minutes. What is it doing? What are those few minutes doing?
So we talked a little bit earlier about the difference between the flours and how oat flour has the grain still intact. So it is more fibrous. I guess is the best way to put that. And because of that, what we're letting it do is soak in that fiber is going to soak up all of that moisture. So when we put this in that pan, you'll see that it's a lot more dry after it sat about 5 minutes. Okay. So what that allows is you'll see when I slice into this guy.
You got to raise it up a little bit so we can see.
So this is a bit ago. So you'll see it's a real bread. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but that's one of the things I was really concerned about was it's a decent sized loaf. It rose just a little bit. I topped it today with rolled oats, and I have one of those mixes that is like everything bagel seasoning mix.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
A little savory and a little bit of flavor on top. And then I'm ready to go for the week. And
because I mean, if we divided that into 12 pieces, each one of those pieces is a great serving of a carb. And then you still add your protein and your fat, and you could be making, like, I love the idea of avocado toast. You toast it up, put some avocado and have some egg on top of it. Oh, there's your PFC. I
always have microgreens now. I'm addicted to microgreens.
Yeah.
They're flavorful. It's an easy way to get added green to anything. And so I'll take this and put some avocado on it. Sometimes I'll do just almond butter and then have some slices of turkey or chicken or something.
Yeah.
I want something that's not so savory.
Yep.
do a lot of options.
Yep. Yeah. Jen, I love this. This is a great dish to bring to a party or to have as a breakfast option for the kids that want toast. And so you're not, I mean, the ingredients are all clean and it's not going to spike your blood sugar like most breads do. Jen, you're amazing. I love that you're part of our family. I love that you are just have embraced this lifestyle, and you've shown us that you don't have to be perfect, that you're still going to be able to make progress, and that, just 1% every day is all
I'm telling you, words to live by.
I know.
It's
so
tough.
our recipe subscription, our recipe vault is open until the end of the month. That is it. And then it will be closed until, like July. So I highly suggest get into it. And honestly, it is a huge compliment for someone like Jen, who is a cook and a baker, to love the recipes. I mean, Jen, say one thing about your, the recipes and why you love them so much. Considering your background.
Sure. So they're easy. They work. Not all diet recipes work. If anybody has done the yo-yo recipe thing with diets, you get into some of them and it's like, no, that doesn't look like a picture.
Yeah.
My family eats them. So it's just my husband and I, or we have friends and family over. They don't know that it's any different. There are recipes in there that I easily would make once a week, once every other week, and we'll eat them all week long.
And I always say it's like, we just came off the holidays. I always say the first of every month when we release new recipes, it's like Christmas every month.
Always. Like the first thing I do is open it up and print them out and go through and figure out what I'm going to do that week.
You're so funny. You do print them all out too, don't you?
I do.
I keep them on the app, but you love to print them out. Your binder must be huge.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I have a binder just for my shakes. Thank you.
Oh, all your shake recipes?
Yes, all the shake recipes. That stays next to the blender because that way it keeps me motivated.
Love it.
Get stuck in a rut. And then I have a separate binder that's all my food recipes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Just
pages get
your Disruptive Nutrition binder collection.
I do. Okay, so I'm going to take this. This is my spray can. We've had this guy sitting out so you can see. I don't know if you can tell really, but it's a lot more dry than it was. And that's partially how you know. So when you move this, it sort of has a consistency of peanut butter, maybe.
Which will make you think like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong because I'm not sure that this is what it should look like. That's how I felt the first time, but you're not doing it wrong.
That's what you want. You want it to have soaked up all of that egg and almond milk. Put this in here. It gets a little sticky, so don't worry about the stickiness. Now, one thing I will say, this doesn't, like some batters, this won't flatten out. So if it's lumpy in here, it'll be lumpy when it comes out. So I always spread it out just a little bit to make sure it's a little even and it's not too uneven on the sides. Just that way it makes a nice loaf and not kind of something.
I love it.
The blob. So I'm going to rinse my fingers off and then we're going to top this up and put it in the oven. This will cook for about 40 minutes at 350. And then you have a fresh kilo.
I mean, it is like I'm not a big food prepper on Sundays kind of a thing. Like I don't spend Sundays all in the kitchen for hours, but this is so quick and easy. And to make this on a Sunday and throw it in the oven for 40 minutes and then have fresh bread all week, you don't need a bread maker, any of that stuff.
It's so easy. You can't get it wrong unless you're impatient. So these are just raw oats and I sprinkle them on top.
All right, you got to lift that up again. Let's see what that looks like.
So there's that guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you saw what it looked like when Jen took it out. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I love that we're highlighting one, but I mean, we're talking about in our recipe vault more than 500 or 600 recipes that are in there. And this one is literally just a side dish. We didn't even do like a full-on recipe. And I just love that because we eat one of three ways, right? We eat these amazing recipes. We have grab and go meals, and then we may have a shake or protein bar because we eat 5 to 6 times a day. And this is like with the recipes, I make extra and then I have them for meals the next day. And so when we can do that, it's incredible.
There's so many recipes that I will, if I'm slow at work even, I'll sit down and open the recipe vault up and I'll think, what do I feel like?
Yeah.
I feel like soup. And then I'll go in and see, what do I have for soups?
Yep.
And go through and figure out something that sounds good.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
No matter what you're craving, you'll find it in there.
I totally agree. So we'll leave a link for the recipe subscription here. Jen, thank you so much. You're amazing. I love being able to spend time with you and for you to share your knowledge. We got to do another episode at some point with some an actual meal, like a full-on PFC meal.
Oh, you bet. You bet. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys. Thank Jen. Put oat bread in the comments if you want some oat bread. And we will make sure we get that recipe over to you guys. All right, Jen, thank you so much. You're the best. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.
Bye.